when you're working and making a movie in Premiere, the first thing you want to do is gather up all of your assets, your videos and your music and your sounds into a folder. So I've created this hike folder, and in this hike folder, I have a folder for my movies that I brought in. These are just from an iPhone that I took these videos from an iPhone, and a folder of some pictures that I took on the phone, and this is a little audio track that I have that I'm going to put this to. I don't have music for this particular project. So you want to have them in a folder because you don't want to lose track of your videos. If you move something, then it'll mess up your project. So put everything that you want in a dedicated folder. Then you go to Premiere. I had already clicked this, so it'll open up right away. I'm clicking New Project, and then you get this first window, and it's going to ask you a couple of things that you don't need to worry about for now for what we're doing. All you want to do is choose your location as that same folder. So choose Browse, and in my case, I'm going to the desktop and choosing Hike and saying Choose, and then give it a name. So I'm going to call this Hike Project or Hike Movie or something, and I'm going to click OK. Now the reason that so as soon as I put it in there, you notice that it creates the project and it creates another folder where it's going to put preview files. Then it gives you this sequence presets. And if you know exactly the camera that you're using and you know the presets for your project, then you could go in here and say, okay, I'm using an HDV, 1080 24p. But the nice thing about Premiere is you don't have to remember this. If you're using the same video for each thing you're doing, the same type of video, it'll determine this for you automatically. So I'll click on this even though it's not the right one, and I'll name my sequence Hike 1 and click OK. So the sequence is the timeline for your project and your build for your project. Let me just hide this out of the way. So I'm going to open up this window about as large as I can get it. And the first thing we need to do is import video into this so we can have something to make our movie out of. And in your project window here, you could just double click and then go and click on the folder of the movies that you have and say import. And before I import my pictures into this, I actually want to tell Premiere to make sure that it imports all of the pictures at the exact same size as my sequence. I don't want to import my pictures yet because I haven't defined the size of my sequence. You'll see what I mean in a second. So bring the videos in first just to set up the size of your sequence. So I've got all my videos here. It starts saying conforming. So what it's doing is creating a little file to import certain data that it'll play smoothly in Premiere. And if you double click on any one of these pictures, it'll show you the picture here. I'm going to bring this down so I'm only looking at it at 50%. Hit your space bar to play. So I have a little bit of video that plays. And let's say I want to have just a little piece of this. I want to have it from like right here. I could use my arrow key to nudge it, or I could use this key to find where I want it to start. So say maybe it's like right when this foot comes down that I want to start. So I'm going to click I. You can also click this mark in, but just I, not Command I, not Control I, just the letter I on the keyboard sets an in point. And maybe I'm going to hit spacebar to let her take a few steps. And then I'll click O for out. O for out. So I for in, O for out. So this is the range of this video that's been selected. I could take it then and drag it down into my timeline. Now this is what I was saying where it allows you to create set the settings based on your video. This clip does not match the sequence's settings. Change the sequence to match the clip settings. In this case, yes, I want to change the sequence settings. So now my sequence, my timeline, and the video, this will match all of my videos that I've created. And I think I should have probably not chosen that video because I think it's a tall, skinny one. So I messed up. Dang it. So I want to actually create a new sequence. That's the only one of them that came in at the iPhone. I just remembered that now. Came in at the iPhone setting size like that. So I'm going to go here and say new sequence. and I'll just call this sequence 2 and say OK. And I'll get my my second video, which is the proper, no, let's see. I'll get one that's the proper format. So this is the proper format. So I'm going to drag, I'll set a quick, I'll click I and O, and I'll drag this in. And yes, I'm going to change these sequence settings. So I'm not going to use that first hike one. I'll just delete that. So now that I have my video in that's defined the size of my movie, I'm going to go and grab my pictures. But I'm going to go first to Premiere Pro Preferences, General, and I'm going to tell Premiere that default scale to frame size. So that means that for the pictures that I import, I'm going to tell it to be the same size as my movie. And I want each still image default duration 60 frames. So that's 2 seconds. I'll make it 90 frames for 3 seconds and say OK. And I'm going to double click here and bring in my hike pics and say import. So all this does, when I've set that preference, it'll set it so automatically my picture will be the same size as my movie. This is upside down. Go so I see more of this. So these pictures are upside down. To rotate a picture, I can go here to Effect Controls and click on that and say in motion, this is the same as After Effects. I'll click 180 to turn it around. This is not how I wanted it to go. I wanted it to be a smoother thing so I wouldn't have to show you things that are a little bit more involved. But so be it. The first thing, I'll start to build a little movie. So I've got these little pictures here. I've got some video. Get rid of this. And I'll go through my video and set in and out points on different things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but I'm not going to pay close attention to what I'm doing. I and O. Go up here, find let's see. Click I, click O. So each of these little things that I bring down, I'm going to click plus on my keyboard to zoom in a little bit and see how I start to create this movie. Oh, it starts to kind of flow together. Now you can move these around and put one in front of the other if you want. It's popping and snapping because I've got this snap turned on. I can turn that on or off. If you right click in here, you can say ripple delete and it'll pull your whole movie to close the gaps like that. If you want to put, so what's happening in a little piece of video like this, you're only seeing a little bit of the video, but it's all still here. If I click and drag here, you'll see that all that whole clip is still there. I've just got the in and the out point that had been selected up here. So you could theoretically just bring all of your video in. You could say, well, I want to bring a bunch of video clips in like this, drag them in, and you've got your whole movie like that. And then you could select in and out points like this and move things around like this. Right click to ripple delete, make things longer and shorter. So you could edit that way, or you could also take this blade tool right here and the razor tool, and you could play and say maybe you want to cut it right after that kick. So you could cut and then get your arrow tool and get rid of that, delete. You could right click in this and say ripple delete. It's like another kick. So you could use plus and minus to zoom in and out of your timeline. So maybe I want to get it just before she kicks. I click C for the blade tool, C for cut, and I could see the kick. And then click C again. Click V for the arrow tool and get rid of this and get rid of this. So I've got this. Maybe I want this to slow down. So I could use this tool here, rate stretch tool, and I could drag this out, and then it'll make it play a lot slower. Or I could make it play faster by dragging in with that rate stretch tool. And again, ripple delete, and that'll work with this tool as well. So you go through and you get all your pieces together. If I had audio, and I do have this audio here, I could bring in a little audio clip. So this is her narration. And I could put the narration in. And you could animate. So she's talking at the beginning about her feet going right, left, right, left. So I could go find a clip that has feet going right, left, right, left. Bring it in here. Now her feet are off there, so I can find where. Here's where it's saying right. You can see here, right. So I want to find a right foot hitting there. Actually, if I go on my video to like where a right foot hits, so there's a right foot hitting here, right. So I'll drag this to here. And I'll bring this here. So that's basically the way that you edit the video together with these clips. If you want to have pictures, the nice thing about setting pictures, if you want to do like a slideshow and have it all timed together, I'm going to make a new sequence and I'll call this slideshow. I'm going to click OK and then bring my audio in. And then I've got all these pics, and I could take all these pics and actually I'm not going to put this here. I'll take all these pics and just drag them in. I'll resize them later. I just want to show you that I could then go to my main sequence and I could bring that slideshow in. And let's say I wanted these pictures in this slideshow just to match exactly with this last piece of audio. I could take that rate stretch tool and drag it so I can make that fit that. So that works with a song as well. If you put all of your pictures in, you could just immediately create a slideshow that matches the length of why they're all upside down, but I could probably just flip over that entire sequence. If I go to source, click on this, go to effect controls, open motion, and turn the rotation around 180. So now I've got that slideshow set up the right way.
It's been an hour now, maybe even two. Will the trail ever end?
Okay.
I haven't learned.
So I'm going to stop this recording. Actually, when you're done, you just go File, Export, Media, and you click Match Sequence Settings. You give it a name right here. Hike, movie, desktop, save, and you go, and you click export, and you're good to go. Let me show you I didn't show you transitions. I'm clicking plus a few times. If you want to put transitions in between things, you go to effects right here and to video transitions. So say I want to put a cross dissolve, I could drag the dissolves between some of these things, and then it'll do a cross dissolve. There's a bunch of different transitions that you could use. And it's kind of also a cool thing. Say you wanted to have a have a movie on top of this that I wanted to see as like a double exposure, I could bring this in and hold command and click some points on this. I'm holding command down, and I could drag this down, and this will fade in over that. Maybe I want to keep this at 50% and see her like walking with the walking stick there. Hitting space bar, command. And this works with audio too, so you could bring in, I'm holding command down, but you could make the audio fade in and fade out by holding command on that little yellow bar. Okay. So that's a bunch of things in Premiere, a little sloppier than I wanted. Maybe I'll make a new one, but it should get you going. I'm going to click stop.